The race to the White House is turning out to be no less than an edge-of-the-seat thriller. The ferocity of the contest is multiplying every single hour as the D-Day approaches, and both the candidates, the former President Donald Trump and the current Vice President Kamala Harris, are clashing like gladiators in the Colosseum, are leaving no stone unturned to win the votes. This battle is most intense in the 7 swing states that are said to hold the key to the White House. It's the moment in the presidential election in which everyone seems to be picking a side. There's the mighty Elon Musk, who is openly endorsing Trump, and on the other hand are global celebrities including Taylor Swift, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, George Clooney, Harrison Ford and others who are endorsing Kamala Harris. Can the celebrity influencer swing the US presidential elections, and how tight is the competition this time in the race to the White House?
And this is also a religious issue in the US. So many women you are seeing are voting for Harris. There is a gender gap also in the voting patterns in these swing states and across the US. More men are voting for Trump and more women are voting for Harris.
So remember, this time the Indian diaspora is also going to play a very, very significant role in the race to the White House. Let's tell you why the Indian diaspora is very, very significant and why every presidential nominee is vying for that vote. 5.2 million Indian Americans reside in the United States and nearly 2.6 million Indian Americans are eligible to vote. So this is the second largest immigrant community after the Mexican in the United States, which is why the vote is going to be very, very crucial. So median household income is double that of the entire United States. So this is a very, very significant vote block, and there are over 7 lakh Asian Indians in these 7 swing states. So these 7 swing states is what hold the key to the White House, and Indian Americans, the Asian Indians, are more than 7 lakh, which means they're a very, very significant chunk. Let's take a look at my colleague Malvika bringing us details on why the Indian Americans play a crucial role in deciding who the next president of the United States will be.
It's very difficult to predict right now. There are 7 swing states and both the candidates are neck to neck. Traditionally, Indians have voted for the Democratic Party because it has had a softer stance as far as immigration is concerned. There are 5 congressmen right now at the federal government level, and most of them are from the Democratic Party. But that said, Indians are very influential. They are wealthy, most of them. 5 to 6% of the US population comprises of Indian immigrants. But they contribute taxes to the tune of $200 to $300 billion. So it's a very influential bloc in that sense. And Trump has been emphasizing that he's going to cut taxes for the wealthier classes of the society. And there are some Indian immigrant voters who are tilting towards voting for Trump.
Now, with the election campaigns coming to a close ahead of the all-important presidential poll set to take place on the 5th of November, Donald Trump launched a last-ditch effort to woo voters in the swing states, such as Pennsylvania. And during his rally in the state, the former U.S. president launched a blistering attack on the current president, Joe Biden, as well as his opponent, Kamala Harris.
Nobody knows where the other guy is. Where the hell is he? Where the hell did he go, David? Where is he? Nobody knows where the hell. Where is Biden? Remember? We used to go, where's Hunter? We used to go, where's Hunter? Now we go, where the hell is Biden? Where's Joe? You know, when you think they stole the election. It was just, they walked in, they said, you're out. Right? That's a threat to democracy. They call me threat to democracy. They stole the election from this guy. Whether you like him or not, they stole the election. They walked in. They said, get out of here, Joe. You're out. You're dead. You're out, Joe. And man, oh, man, he likes me better than he likes her, I really believe. And you have to tell Kamala that you've had enough, Kamala. You've had enough. You're the worst ever. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here.
So we've also spoken to Suhas Subramanyam, who is the Virginia state senator. Listen in to his take on the polls.
Hello and welcome to Times Now. I'm Malvika Jain and I have with me Suhas Subramanyam, who's running for Congress from the Democratic Party right here in the state of Virginia. Suhas, welcome to Times Now.
Thank you.
My first question to you is that, at the campaign event today, we have seen some Republicans also participating. What is it that is motivating Republicans to support a Democratic candidate like yourself?
Yeah, I've always told people that I want to be a voice for all Virginians, Democrats and Republicans. And so I also want to make sure that we unite people and bridge the divides in our politics, because our politics has been more divided than ever before. And so part of that means welcoming Republicans who want to support me and doing rallies like this with them. And so it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, we're a campaign where people can get behind it.
Well, some Republicans are also supporting Kamala Harris. Why is that? Why aren't they supporting Trump? Because the race seems to be pretty tight, and that means that he does have substantial support.
Yeah, people are concerned about a couple of things. One, our democracy generally, because Trump has said many anti-democratic things. And January 6th, things like that were very difficult for our community and for our country. And so we want to make sure that we protect that. Locally, actually, federal workers here are actually under attack. He would fire federal civil servants if elected. And so that's really bad for our economy here. And so you see a lot of Republicans that work in the federal government who are supporting our campaign.
Sure. You have Indian origins. And what do you think the outcome of the presidential elections could mean for India and Indian immigrants who are living in the U.S.?
Yeah, for India, I just want to make sure we have a strong U.S.-India relationship, regardless of who's president. I think Trump has vowed to do that. I think Harris has vowed to do that. I also want to make sure that we have an immigration system that works for people who are coming over on, say, H-1B visas, who are trying to get green cards, waiting 10, 15 years. My parents immigrated here in the late 70s. They got their green card in 3 months. And so we need to do more for people when it comes to legal immigration. We can do border security. We can try to address undocumented immigrants as well. But let's do more on legal immigration and for the Indian diaspora.
And do you think Kamala Harris would also be favorable towards India? Because there are certain remarks she has made, for instance, on the issue of Kashmir, which is not in line with the Indian government's stance.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know that regardless of who's president in India, the U.S.-India relationship is so critical to the world, really. It's two of the most important democracies out there, and we need to make sure that we strengthen that relationship. And it doesn't have to be at the expense of any other region, but we certainly already have a very strong economic relationship. I think there's more we can do on the defense side. I think long-term, this is going to be a really fruitful relationship if we just continue the momentum.
Sure. And my last question to you is that it's a very, 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 very close race. Who do you think is going to win?
I have no idea. Like I was saying to someone earlier, I'm really bad at predicting who wins these elections. I do know that if we get out the vote and we fight, we'll win my race for certain. I do know that if we make sure that every person comes out and votes, that Kamala Harris would likely win as well.
So Times Now has been tracking the developments on the ground. We've spoken to some influential insiders to get a better perspective on what promises are going to be important in the election for India as well. For instance, there are persons of Indian origin who are involved in both sides. Kamala Harris's mother hails from India, and on the other side, Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance's wife, Usha, also is of Indian origin. Another person of Indian origin that you may hear of a lot is Ashwin Ramaswamy, who is a 25-year-old Democrat and a candidate for Georgia State Senate. Here's what he had to say when we spoke to him.
My first question to you is that, at such a young age, you're the first and the youngest Hindu young candidate to have been nominated by the party as its official candidate. What has been your journey like, and what motivated you to join politics?
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's been an incredible journey. And my own background is I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta, a place called Johns Creek. My parents came here from India in the early 90s. And my own background is in computer science and law. But growing up here, I got so much from this diverse community here in America. And I always thought about how can I give back to my own community. Part of that came from my own Hindu upbringing and values. I went to a organization called Chinmaya Mission Balvihar, where I learned about my own values, culture, traditions. We learned about something called seva, which means community service, giving back to the community and giving more than what we take. So that's what always stuck with me. So I did my undergraduate degree in computer science at Stanford.
You
and
know,
a law
as you
degree
mentioned,
at
you
Georgetown.
are a son of immigrants. Immigration has been a key issue in the U.S. politics. It's also an issue for the U.S. presidential elections. What do you think are the other key issues for this presidential race? Because in addition to the Senate race for which you are contesting, the presidential elections are also underway in the U.S. and the voting will take place on the 5th of November.
So some of the key issues that we're facing is, first of all, gun safety. We have too many mass shootings happening and not enough action on gun control. So that's something I'll be fighting for at the state level. And I know the Harris-Walz ticket will be fighting for at the national level. The other big issue here is reproductive health care. We have in Georgia a very extreme abortion ban, which makes it hard for women to get life-saving treatments to ensure that they can have the health care that they need. The final issue is respect for democracy. We need leaders who are going to do the right thing and tell the truth and focus on protecting the right to vote. Those are the big issues that I see happening here in Georgia and across the country.
But if you look at the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign, what the sense that you're getting from the early voting results and also the polls that are taking place, that it's a very neck-to-neck tight race. Who do you think is likely to win? I know you're a Democrat, so you are likely to say it's Harris. But how concerned about you about the kind of performance we are seeing from Trump?
I mean, ultimately, this election is a choice between a candidate like Trump, who represents the past and division, and a candidate like Harris, who represents the future, inclusivity, and investing in our future. I mean, the race is a toss-up, right? We've seen it's so close because there's a lot of good ideas from the Democratic end that are widely popular, but there's a lot of disinformation, a lot of misinformation we have to fight against, both at the national level and the local and state level as well. And I think that's why it's so close. I think what we just have to do is continue to try as hard as we can, talking to voters, knocking on their doors, and doing the work needed to get people out to ensure that their voices are heard.
But just Ashwin, just like you, Harris also, her mother was an Indian and she also has Indian connections. And off late, we're seeing that more and more she's reaching out to the Asian community, to the Indian community. But the issue of Kashmir, which has been a source of tension between India and Pakistan, her position has been a little bit not in favor of India, if I would say. What do you make of this situation? Do you think if Harris is elected as the president of the United States, she would be pro-India and we will see the India-US ties strengthening further?
I would say the ties between India and the United States have been so important for both countries. Regardless of who's president of the United States, it is in the interest of the United States to pursue strong bilateral common ties with India. There's so many issues, whether it's immigration, whether it's trade, technology, talent, where we can work together. And that's exactly what I see from the Harris-Walz campaign. And that's what we expect will happen. And I think ultimately having someone like Kamala Harris, whose mother is Indian, she's also Indian and Black, she's going to be able to connect so much more with the Indian diaspora here and really strengthen those ties in a way that Donald Trump never really can.
But Trump has also made many attempts. You had the Howdy Modi event in Houston where he reached out to the Indian diaspora. So we cannot outrightly say that Harris would favor India more. But like you said, both parties don't have a choice but to see India as a close ally. And that's likely to be the outcome in the elections. But going back to the campaign and the mood.
So just one quick thing to add on that. I would just say, yes, I mean, Trump has done outreach to the Indian community, but look at the results. If you look at the number of H-1B visas, for example, approved by the Trump administration versus the Biden administration, the Trump administration has drastically decreased that. So they may say that they're supporting Indian Americans, but their actions do not match their words.
All right, we continue getting you voices from the United States as we inch closer towards the decision on who will be the president of the United States.